times as high a concentration as you might reasonably expect.
Beverley Allitt was born in 1968 in a small town in England. At first, her life seemed normal. She was one of 4 children in her family.
General consensus was that perhaps there was some medical explanation for it.
People described her as quiet, but even in childhood, there were signs that something was not right. She often pretended to be sick to get attention and spent time in hospitals for problems that doctors could not clearly explain. Sometimes she would wear bandages or claim she was injured, even when nothing was wrong. These strange actions made her stand out from other children. As Beverley grew older, her behavior did not change. Friends and teachers noticed she wanted sympathy more than anything else. She liked being in the role of a patient, cared for and watched over. This desire for attention became stronger with time. Her family hoped she would grow out of it, but instead, it became part of who she was. Despite her odd behavior, Beverley decided she wanted to become a nurse. To many, this seemed like a good path. Nursing was about caring, healing, and saving lives. But for Beverley, the hospital was not just a place to help others. It was also a place where she could continue to be surrounded by sickness, pain, and the drama of life and death situations. This unhealthy attraction to illness would later shape her darkest choices, setting the stage for the tragedy that shocked the world. Nursing dream. When Beverley Allitt finished school, she followed the path she had always talked about, becoming a nurse. To many people around her, it looked like a positive step. Nursing was seen as a noble career, one that demanded kindness, patience, and strength. She entered training and began working at Grantham and Kesteven Hospital in Lincolnshire. On the outside, it looked like she was achieving her dream. But beneath the surface, problems quickly appeared. Allitt's training record showed she was not the most reliable student. She was often absent without a clear reason. She sometimes reported being ill, just as she had done in her childhood. Co-workers began to notice her strange need for attention. Even though she wore the uniform of a nurse, the caring spirit that job required seemed to be missing. Despite her lack of discipline, Beverley managed to secure a position in the children's ward. To many, it felt like a natural place for a young nurse to gain experience. The ward was meant to be a safe space for sick children and their families. But for Beverley, it became the stage where her dark side grew stronger. Instead of focusing on healing, she began to look for control and power in the most dangerous way possible. What had once seemed like a noble dream slowly twisted into something terrifying. The hospital was about to learn the true cost of placing trust in the wrong hands. Dark behavior. Once Beverley Allitt started working in the children's ward, her strange behavior became more troubling. She showed little interest in the daily tasks of a nurse, like keeping records or giving medicine properly. Instead, she seemed drawn to moments of crisis. Whenever a child's condition suddenly worsened, Beverley was often the one nearby. At first, it looked like bad luck or coincidence. But soon, the pattern became harder to ignore. Colleagues noticed she often volunteered to care for the sickest children, but not out of compassion. She appeared calm when others panicked and even enjoyed the chaos. Doctors and nurses trusted her, unaware that she was playing a dangerous role in the suffering of patients. Children who had stable conditions suddenly developed unexplained breathing problems, heart attacks, or seizures. When parents rushed in, Beverley was quick to comfort them, presenting herself as the caring nurse. This behavior was not kindness, it was control. By creating emergencies, Beverley placed herself at the center of attention. Each crisis fed her hidden desire to be noticed and needed. The staff around her struggled to understand why healthy children were dying without warning. They did not yet realize the danger was coming from within their own team. The children's ward, once a place of safety, was slowly turning into a nightmare under Beverley's watch. Children in danger. The children's ward at Grantham and Kesteven Hospital was meant to be a place of hope, where young patients could recover under careful watch. But once Beverley Allitt began working there, the atmosphere changed. One by one, children who had been expected to recover suddenly collapsed without reason. Parents who came in with hope left with fear and heartbreak. Beverley was always close when these medical emergencies happened, yet no one suspected her at first. The youngest victims were babies and toddlers, children who could not speak for themselves. Many suffered sudden heart attacks, breathing failures, or unexplained complications. Doctors struggled to find medical causes, while Beverley often appeared as the first to raise the alarm. She would rush to help, sometimes even staying by the bedside to comfort grieving parents afterward. To families, she looked like a dedicated nurse, but behind that mask of care, she was the very cause of their pain. Each case added to the mystery. Why were so many children failing in one ward? Why did tragedies follow Beverley's shifts so often? While colleagues whispered their confusion, the hospital continued to trust her. That trust gave her more chances to harm the very children she was meant to protect. The place of healing had quietly turned into a hunting ground, and no one realized the true danger growing in their midst. The suspicion as the number of unexplained emergencies grew. Staff at Grantham and Kesteven Hospital began to question what was happening. Too many children were suffering sudden collapses, and the pattern was difficult to ignore. Most of the cases seemed to occur when Beverley Allitt was on duty. At first, her colleagues dismissed it as coincidence, but the feeling of unease spread through the ward. Something was not right. Doctors reviewed medical files and noticed irregularities. Children who had been stable just hours earlier were suddenly fighting for their lives. Post-mortem results did not always match the symptoms, leaving experts puzzled. Some staff even wondered if a rare infection or equipment failure was to blame. But behind the confusion, a darker possibility began to form. Could someone inside the ward be responsible? Beverley continued to act like a caring nurse, staying close to parents and offering comfort. This made it harder for people to believe she could cause harm. Yet the suspicions grew stronger with every unexplained death or collapse. Eventually, the pattern became impossible to ignore. Investigations were launched, and the focus started to turn toward the nurse who was always present when tragedy struck. The mask of innocence was slipping, and the truth was on the verge of being exposed. Shocking arrest. When investigations finally centered on Beverley Allitt, the evidence against her grew rapidly. Medical records revealed that children in her care had been given lethal doses of insulin and potassium, substances that could cause sudden heart failure. These drugs were not prescribed, and the only person with access to them at the time was Beverley. Police and medical experts pieced together the timeline, and the disturbing truth became clear: the caring nurse had been secretly harming her young patients. In 1991, Beverley Allitt was arrested. The news shocked not only the hospital staff, but the entire nation. Parents who had once trusted her with their sick children now realized she had been the reason behind so many unexplained deaths. Reporters flooded the story, calling her the angel of death. The idea that someone hired to heal could instead destroy lives was almost impossible for people to accept. Trial and sentence. The trial of Beverley Allitt began in 1993 and quickly became one of the most disturbing cases in British history. The court heard how 4 children had died and 9 others had been seriously harmed while under her care. Experts explained how the victims were injected with insulin or given dangerous amounts of potassium, causing sudden collapses and heart failure. The jury also learned that Beverley often stayed close to the parents of her victims,